to the moderator.
Yep, you all set? I'm ready.
Good morning. We are Next Level.
My name is Sai Andra, and I'm the lead engineer.
I'm Chang, project scientist. I'm Deng, project manager.
I'm Gagnon, chief research officer.
Alec Gelfenbein, business manager.
Thomac Urbanak, systems test engineer.
Deng, project implementer.
We come from Vermont, a small state located in New England.
And we love Maple Syrup.
For the 2013 and 14 challenge, we were tasked to come up with a design for a UAV that could detect European cornwalls, and along with that, create an effective business and detection plan to support it.
This was the structure of the team that was assembled. Each member brought a unique talent which contributed to the overall goal of creating a well-balanced report. The team used the Google platform and Skype in order to allow for easier collaboration and communication between our mentors and Sai, who is currently attending Embry-Riddle. As you can see in the pictures above, our team was very functional and we worked in a very collaborative team environment.
When we come across problems, we have a set procedure that we follow. First, we brainstorm and try to develop a systematic approach. And if we can't, we contact our mentors and, using their expertise, develop a systematic approach and devise a solution.
Here are the topics we are going to cover in our detection plan. Originally, we planned to detect the damage which the European corn borer larvae would inflict on the corn. However, we found this to be unviable due to how minuscule the damage actually is. We calculated that we would need a top-of-the-line 60-megapixel camera while flying 50 feet above the corn in order to reach the minimum detection threshold. On top of this, detection through this method would be extremely inaccurate due to the many false positives that can be detected throughout the field. Low-altitude operations leads to exponentially longer mission times, which can be countered by adding multiple UAVs. However, both options are not cost-effective. Thus, the team concluded that we needed to implement a supporting component into the field in order to effectively detect European corn borers.
In our process to our solution, we ran through several iterations using these support components, first of which is a decoy plant, a modified plant that would poison the European corn borer, but we discarded this idea because it didn't utilize UAV. Our second idea is a companion plant, another plant that would support the growth of the commercial corn and would also indicate the location of the corn borer with a green fluorescent protein, but this was also discarded because corn borers are more attractive to corn. Our final solution is an indicator corn genetically modified with a red fluorescent protein that turns red when exposed to corn borer saliva.
Our final detection plan consists of planting our indicator, or is a modified corn, in the field along with the commercial corn. When the corn borer bites into our corn, the corn will react with the saliva of the corn borer and it will exhibit RFP, red fluorescent protein, due to its modifications. Our UAV will then be able to fly over the field, detect which parts of the field have this red fluorescent plant in it, which sticks out, and then we will use this data to deduce which parts of the field have the European corn borer. Organic corn, due to the nature of our detection plan, we utilize organic corn as opposed to BT corn, which improves our profit margin.
So our indicator corn has three modifications. The first of which is male sterility, which eliminates cross-pollination between our indicator corn and the commercial corn. The second is an extremely short growing season, which means that the indicator corn sprouts earlier and is slightly more attractive to corn borers and also dies before the harvest season. Our third modification is just the incorporation of M-cherry, which is the RFB that can be easily detected by a CMOS sensor. And all of these modifications have been done for our corn, so we know that it's very reasonable.
In order to place the indicator corn efficiently, farmers will follow this basic corn planter setup. This consists of 15 commercial corn rows and 2 indicator corn rows, totaling to 17. Farmers can expand this to any size they want. We suggest they remain in multiples of 17 rows. The commercial corn is placed at the standard distance of 30 inches in between the rows and 3 inches within the rows. Obviously, when a planter goes down the field, it makes passes. This is what multiple passes would look like. In order to place our indicator corn, we split these 15 rows into 3 sets of 5 rows. And then in between these, we place the indicator corn equidistant between the 2 commercial corn on either side. This lands them at the narrow row configuration. What this allows our farmers to do is utilize equipment they already own. They don't have to buy anything in addition. And they can actually just place these indicator corn hoppers in between the already placed commercial corn hoppers. It doesn't affect the field in any way. It's still set up the same way. Here's an example of our corn plot. Our ratio is 420 commercial corn to 1 indicator corn. This lands us 1 indicator corn every 14-foot by 15-foot block. And to know when to precisely fly over the field and detect these corn borers, we utilize something called GDD units, corn growing degree day units. The basic premise is that corn growth is directly linked to the temperature reached each day, and thus European corn borer growth is directly linked to the stage at which corn is. So utilizing these calculations, we can determine the exact time to fly over the field, and we can also tell the farmer, you should be applying pesticides at this exact time, because there's a 10 to 14 day after eggs hatch when pesticides has the maximum efficiency. We utilize a multi-generational approach because in our plot there are 2 generations. So we do 1 flyover for the first generation, which obviously the time is calculated using GDD units. And then we perform a second generation that will combat any offspring from this first generation that might have survived. And this is also calculated using GDD units. Here's a timeline of our processes.
So farmers are expected to have are predicted to have an increase in yield because corn borers can be detected earlier and the damage can be minimized, and the general health of the plants can also be detected. There's a projected 12% increase in crop yield on just plant health and 20% in indicator and plant and savings in pesticides. And farmers also have increased marketability because they can say that they use less pesticides than regular corn.
So we decided on a grid search pattern because a spiral search pattern would have increased our overall flight time and the complexity of stitching our photos together. We also had to separate our flight plan into 2 different legs because our battery only gave us a projected flight time of 2 hours and 9 minutes. Even though our original 1-leg flight plan was only 1 hour and 57 minutes, a 1-leg flight plan would not have given us sufficient range to return to the landing zone in case something went wrong. Also, these range calculations were only estimates and did not account for environmental factors such as wind speed and direction. We decided to utilize the car top launcher to launch our UAV, and the van would follow the UAV in order to keep within visual range as per FAA regulations. We only needed 31.89 gigabytes of data for the entire field, which meant that we could get away with only using one 64 gigabyte SD card. We decided on the Nikon D800 with the 18 to 55mm lens as our sensor payload option. It was much cheaper and provided us with a much higher resolution than the X5000 that was originally provided by the challenge. Multispectral imaging was not needed, we concurred, because we could get the same color data that we needed from a regular CMOS sensor. This is the graph that we used to help us determine our optimum detection altitude. We calculated that we would need 4 pixels per square foot in order to detect our indicator plant, and we were limited to 1,000 feet above ground level by the FAA, so we decided to just fly at 1,000 feet where we would get a comfortable 13.552 pixels per square foot.
Now for the UAS design. So first we knew that we had to minimize costs to the farmer on an hourly basis and also on an initial cost basis. So by doing so, we had 3 design proposals for the UAS. One is to use multiple UAVs. Now this would significantly decrease mission time, proportional to the number of UAVs in the air. However, the high initial cost and high hourly cost due to hiring multiple air crews and also the construction of multiple UAVs made this not very viable. Now, for the progressive scanning of the field, which is our second proposal, we would scan the field over the course of many days or possibly even weeks, covering a fraction of the field every day. Now, this would allow us to use a very simple airframe and a very small ground crew, allowing us for low hourly costs and low initial costs. Now, the problem with this is that the cost would still be high due to the number of hours that we would have to be working at the field. It would also be difficult to count for the number of clients. So if we have more than one client, it would be difficult to cover all. Now for the single UAV platform, we decided this would be the most optimal and the happy middle between multiple UAVs and scanning. It requires fewer people to operate, and it also has a lower hourly cost. But it also has a higher initial cost due to the complexity and the required size of the UAV. Now this is our concept selection. So first we had many different design selections such as tilt rotor, glider, blimp, etc. Now based on this we used a design matrix to down select, and we finally came up with our design choice of flying wing, which we'd iterate upon. So the first 2 designs were proof of concepts, which allowed us to find any issues that would be inherent to the design with the flying wing, such as stability and also structural integrity. So we designed a fuselage around the three largest components that will be fit in the UAV, such as the camera, the battery, and the electric motor powering it. But we also added extra internal space to allow for a more diverse mission portfolio, such as search and rescue, wildlife count, and it would also allow us to swap out sensors that are either larger or smaller, and change the battery size. So the final designs, iterations were used to fine-tune our design, such as doing airfoil selection, doing material selection, doing weight and balance, and we also added a stronger tail section to help add stability and structural integrity. This is our CAD drawings, and this is the dimensions of our UAV. So for material selection, we used three major components, such as carbon fiber, EPP foam, and ABS plastic. Carbon fiber is used because it's very light, stiff, and strong. It's also widely used in the RC aircraft community, so it's a tried and tested material, and it will be present in the wing bracing and spars, and also the fuselage support structure. EPP foam is a very light and very versatile material, which has high impact resistance and is very easy to repair at the field. So thus we would be making the skin and the wings out of this material. ABS plastic, it's very versatile. It's able to be 3D printed. It's also very tough and ideal for high wear and tear parts of the UAV, such as the wingtips and the rear tail structure.
Moving on to the business case, where we will discuss the following aspects of our business. Taking a look at our business model and timeline, we have come to the conclusion that it will take 5 years to develop our indicator corn. And in addition, we will need 1 year to bring the product to market. During this 6-year period, we believe that the FAA will release new regulations, we will obtain our FAA permit, and for 3 years, we will apply for the detection of plant health. This will allow us to begin making a profit and work out the kinks in our business before our indicator corn period begins. At this time, we will be able to fly 10 missions per year. Once our indicator corn period begins, we will only be able to fly 5 missions per year, as we need to fly 1 flight for each generation of corn board.
Now listed here are the initial costs when starting our business. And you will immediately notice that the majority of our initial cost is contributed by the cost for the research and development of our indicator corn, estimated to be about $50 million. And we justify these costs with our high potential business and detection plans. Now we established 3 potential sources of funding for our project: government grants, investments from venture capitalists, and loans. And while each present their own pros and cons, we ultimately decided that we hope to receive about $45 million out of the 50 for the indicator corn from investments and $5 million from loans.
Our break-even costs for the first 50 missions were calculated by adding our direct operational cost per mission to our initial costs, which had been spread over the first 50 missions. You may notice that the indicator period is far more expensive. This is because the price of our indicator seeds is included, as well as the addition of a data analyst and some new software.
Here are our projected increase in net profits that we believe that we will be able to offer to our clients. Using just our plant health monitoring technology, we believe that we will be able to offer an increase in net profit of $3.7 million. Now, many of our clients may spray their field more than once per season with pesticides. With our indicator corn, we can drastically reduce the usage of pesticides on the fields, meaning that at maximum, we can increase their net profit by $7.59 million per growing season.
Now here we've established the final prices that we would charge for our services, and these were determined based on our calculations of a realistic profit margin.
We determined a final objective function value of 7.58. While this may seem low, this is because of the high initial cost of our research and development of the indicator seed. However, this can be easily overturned due to the high potential of our plan.
Looking to the future, we hope that one day next-level technologies will be able to become a biotechnology company. This could occur when FAA regulations reach a point when farmers can fly UAVs on their own. Once this threshold has been reached, we will be able to sell our UAVs and seeds directly to farmers across the country and world. This will allow our potential profits to increase exponentially, as we will no longer be servicing just 5 farms per year.
Our solution is not evolutionary, but revolutionary. We believe that we can change the future of precision agriculture, and for these reasons, we consider ourselves to be the next level of precision agriculture. Thanks to all these mentors who are invaluable to us throughout this process, And a special thanks to our coach, Mr. Stephen Barner, for sticking with us no matter the hour. Thank you for your time. Feel free to ask any questions.
What my colleagues are writing down. So 90% of my questions you answered along the way, so I kept on crossing out. So, but obviously, one of the key features in the innovation is this indicator horn. And there's obviously a lot of program and project risk associated with that and monitored as well. Has this scheme been used elsewhere that you're just modifying it for corn, or has it been used in agriculture elsewhere?
So I did most of the research on that.
Okay.
It's been done into a multitude of plants. It didn't actually start with corn. It started with other plants that were just kind of like test plants. But in theory, it can be done to any crop, any plant whatsoever. So the idea is that you could use this process for any plant whatsoever.
So I guess my question is, and maybe I didn't phrase it correctly, and I apologize. Is this brand new, or has it already been done in practically speaking in a different application for a different, for rice or for apples or something?
Yeah, everything that we mentioned here has already been done. We had a mentor, Dr. Ken Lang of Iowa State University. She's the head of the plant transformation. She told us everything has been done before, not only on other plants, but on corn specifically, which just helps to show that it's all been done.
Right.
It is possible. The 3 modifications haven't been put together before, but she believed that it was fully possible as each had individually been done.
Okay.
But this idea as a whole is completely new.
Yeah.
And in your one more note. In your business case, and it might have been embedded in there. I was trying to read the lines quickly. Those rows of indicator corn, is that loss for the farmer, or are those still they part of the yield?
So basically, those are like added in additionally. So like, if you had a regular farm plant setup, there would be no row here whatsoever. We're just utilizing something called a narrow row configuration, which is 15 inches, which allows us to add an additional row of indicator corn.
Right.
You don't harvest the indicator corn.
Okay, that was
Right, and that is why it sprouts before and dies before the other corn, so that there's not a hazard
no
of
cross-contamination.
harvesting the modified corn.
great.